What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the Black Experience Podcast, y'all. I hope everyone is doing well. This is my second ever virtual meeting podcast that I'm doing. As you guys can see, as the year goes on, as the time goes on, more and more connections are built, and we're slowly expanding. And we got someone very special today in a brand new location that I have not actually has someone in yet. So she is someone who is an artist. She is someone who is a horse girl, an aspiring DJ that is on KUGS, the local radio station at WW, Western Washington University. And most importantly, she is a part of that Bellingham and WW community, but now is on her study abroad trip in Ghana right now. So without further ado, y'all, let's put our hands together and let's bring up Hadley Hudson. How's it
Thank
going,
you.
Hadley?
Oh, it's going so good.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very excited to be on the pod, I must say. I must say, yeah.
I'm curious because I remember getting your email and
Mm,
we weren't really friends in college, but we were, I guess we knew of each other.
yeah, like
Um,
our paths crossed on multiple occasions. We're
yeah,
like very much adjacent at all times.
pretty much.
But
Yeah, like if I'm here, Hadley's here. If I'm there,
yeah,
I'm here, whatever, you know.
yeah,
Uh,
I don't think we ever really, I'm sure we maybe like introduced ourselves at one point, but yeah, I never really like, I don't know, properly hung out with you or anything.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I saw your pod because I'm friends with EJ, and EJ was on the pod. And I
Hmm.
was like, wait, let me check this out. And then I ended up like binge listening to like 10 episodes in one day. And I was like, I need to email them.
It makes me feel so good. I mean, 10 episodes in one day. I mean, you're my number one fan at that point.
Yeah, you're gonna be on
Um,
my Spotify Wrapped next year.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this episode, this one or the in-person one we might do once you're back,
Yeah,
might
yeah.
be the number one too. So, uh, but Hadley, no, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know we're in two different time zones right now. As I said, you're in Bourgeois, Ghana right now,
Yeah.
part of that travel abroad that we'll be talking about. But if you want to kick it off, talk a little bit about your background, tell the people a little bit where you're from originally, where you were born, and then any favorite childhood memories growing up.
Yeah, so I'm from the Midwest. I'm from a little town called East Dundee, Illinois. It's like an hour outside of Chicago, still kind of considered like Chicago suburbs. Very much just like kind of small town USA vibes. It's not like middle of nowhere, but definitely a small town. I actually grew up going to Lutheran private school from preschool all the way to eighth grade. That was interesting. But then I went to like regular normal public high school, which like literally thank God that that happened. But yeah, I have older siblings. I'm the youngest. Uh, some of my favorite childhood memories are definitely spending time on my uncle's farm with my horse and just like fooling around and spending like hours there. And yeah, just really great memories.
Yeah. Yeah. Were horses like was that something like you saw on TV that you wanted to take part in, or where did that interest come from?
I was kind of like born into it on my mom's side of the family. They're really into horses. Her dad, so my papa, used to train thoroughbreds, which are like the race horses that you'd see if you like went to go watch the Kentucky Derby. Like those are thoroughbreds. So he used to train them, and then so my mom grew up around them. And then my uncle had a farm that I grew up going to, and he used to have people that would like board horses there. And then he also had his own horses there. So I just like grew up around them, but I'm kind of the only one in my like generation of the family that like
Mhm.
really has the horse
Yeah.
girl buff. I'd say
Yeah.
everybody else appreciates them, but I'm the one who is like, I want to be riding, I want to take lessons, like so yeah.
I like that. No, no, for real. Yeah, I went back to Eritrea where I'm from several years ago, and we had a it was like a day or two we spent of like we went to the horse range or farm, whatever it is, and we were some horses. So they're pretty cool. I felt like a cowboy for sure. Do you
I could
still?
like I could talk about them all day. I love them so
Oh,
much.
100%. I could see the passion and I could hear it in your voice too. So, do you still like when's the most recent time you've been
Yeah,
to
yeah, I
initial?
still ride. I'm actually, I don't think I told you this, I'm on the equestrian team at WW. It exists. We have an equestrian team. Yes. Obviously I'm not on it right now because I'm not there.
Mhm.
But yeah, so if anybody, any horse girls out there that go to WW, the equestrian team exists. Go find them. But last time I rode was last month in Lesotho, actually, which is like the enclave country that is like surrounded by South Africa. And they have a really big horse culture within their country. It's very mountainous, so people really prefer horseback riding to like having a car. And I think it's just for them, it's more affordable to have a horse than to have a car. It makes more
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And then before that, I actually spent a month at the start of my journey I'm on. I actually started in Italy at a horse stable that was connected to a castle.
What
Crazy.
castle?
Yeah, so I was like there helping take care of the horses in exchange for somewhere to stay. It was a workaway. Um, but I also got to ride while I was there.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That's super cool. No, no, absolutely. Yeah. Did you have any other passions that you had, or is it just mainly horseback riding that you liked as a child?
I was, it was, I feel like it was just the horses. There was like, there was like in and out of other things, but it always fell back to the horses big time.
So I'm curious now, when it comes to your favorite animal, because I'm sure you're studying abroad, you've probably seen lots of animals. Is the horse at the top of that list, or what is at the top?
It is like, it just has to be at this point. It's at the top of the list. But it's like, also at the same time, it's like, I feel like it's hard to pick a favorite. But I'd say like horses, lions, and whales are usually the top three. Yeah.
Lions.
Yeah.
Wow. I could never even come close to them, man. Oh my gosh. I used to watch those YouTube videos, where the lion is like chasing after the prey, who's like hiding, and he like gets
Yeah.
it. I could never
That,
go to the Sahara though. Like that's props to y'all. If anyone is able to do that, man, go ahead. But um, we spoke a little bit about WW, Hadley. Tell us a little bit, I guess, from Chicago to why Western and why Bellingham of all places did you
yeah.
live there?
So I I knew I wanted to be west of Illinois. Like I knew for school when it came to college, I was like, I was not wanting to be on the East Coast. I did not want to stay in the Midwest. So I was like, let's think about what's going on over there. So I looked in Colorado, Washington, and Oregon. And I actually heard of WW because there was somebody who two people I went to high school with that they were siblings, and the older one, or they are siblings, the older one ended up going to WW, and the other sibling was in my grade, and I was just like having small talk with them one day and was like, hey, what are they up to? And they're like, oh, they go to Western Washington University in Bellingham, Washington. And I was like, I've never heard of that before, but I was like, but it must be a cool school if they go there. So that's how it like came into my head. And I ended up visiting like the summer before my senior year of high school. And it was like in the same trip that I went to Oregon. And like by the time we drove to Oregon and got into Oregon, I was like, Mom, you can cancel the other like tours. Like I want to be in Washington.
You were
But I
so.
actually started out in Seattle first because I wanted like city experience before transferring up to Western.
Mm, mm.
No.
What was your first impressions of Bellingham?
I was just thinking about that before getting on the call. I remember going to the bagelry. And I remember going to Everyday Music, which was used to be right across from the bakery. I think now it's another record store. But I just remember like really falling in love with the environment, really loving how it's like mountainous, but also the water, the greenery. And I remember it being like probably one of the better tours I went on for all the schools I went on. Like it seemed like the most like legit tour. Like I think they got me with the tour.
The tour did it for you, yeah. Yeah. For me, it was the sunsets. And like the
Mm.
the 2 days of orientation that we were there. Oh my gosh. Especially that, the lookout right next to the MCC.
Yeah,
Oh,
so nice.
oh, that sold it for me. I was like, this is it. Yeah, this is where I want to go, man. It was amazing. Did the, I guess, what about just like the feeling of Bellingham, the culture of Bellingham, and then even Western, like, obviously it be not diverse and stuff. How did that come across to you initially?
Yeah, so I think because of my like years at private Lutheran school, which was very white, and also being half white and growing up in the suburbs, like it wasn't really like a new feeling for me to like be around a lot of white people and know how they function.
Hmm.
Um, and I think honestly, like even in Seattle, which is still like a big city and is, more diverse than Bellingham for obvious reasons. But I don't know, like I was just so ready to get out of Seattle for many of reasons that I was really excited to like be up in Bellingham, even if that meant being surrounded by white people.
Yeah.
But I think because of that, it creates more of a, at least in my experience, like more of a drive to like create and find that community of people of color or Black people in particular, because there's just so many white people. And it just makes it more exciting when you find another Black person who's like also going to the same yoga class you're going to or whatever. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got someone I know that looks like me that's going, yeah.
yeah,
I like the drive part that you talked about, Hadley, because I have that same thinking where when I did come into it, obviously if you had to pick, you wish more diversity was there, but you got to also come to that point where you're like, this it is what it is. We'll try to promote the diversity as much as we can. That's gonna take some time, but just work with what you have and you cherish the people that do look like you because there's so few while you're there. So yeah, I mean that's a I feel like that's a healthier way to look at things, right? Don't you think?
I'd say so. It's what you make of it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's what you make of it. And plus you learn from them too, because you're like, if I don't have someone that looks like me, they might have a different life experience, different
Yeah.
background, whatever. Different foods. I love food. I love food. Oh, the vendors. Do you ever go to the vendors, right outside the VU?
Oh yeah. Yeah, many a times. What is it? India Grill?
There's that one. There's a Chinese
And
one.
QQ's, yeah.
And then the Mexican one, man,
I
that
don't think I've actually tried the Mexican one before.
oh, Hadley, you gotta try it once you're back.
Really?
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Especially the chicken quesadilla.
Is it yummy?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because it comes with a little side rice and beans right here and some sour cream. It's delicious. I love Mexican food. Um,
Noted. Noted.
that's what's up though. That's what's up. Let's talk a little bit about motivation and drive. So, obviously, everyone when they wake up, they have that one thing that drives them. And you and what you're doing in your major, and we're gonna get into that a little bit in your study abroad. But what is it that motivates Hadley first thing in the morning? Hadley wakes up, be it in Ghana, be it here. What is the thing that gets her going?
Well, I quite like literally what gets me going is I have a daily yoga practice that I do in the morning. So I think knowing that like my day doesn't start until I take some time to be on my yoga mat is just like so amazing for physical and mentality things. But in a more broader sense, I think just like world is my oyster vibes. Every day's a new day to like do something new, try something new, keep doing whatever it is I'm doing. But definitely just like the passion I have for art, animals, music, and every day is like a new opportunity to find out how those things are like ever so informing each other or like
Hmm.
linking into each other, intersecting, whatever words you want to use. Um, yeah. I don't know if that answered the question or if I went off the deep end, but
You went off the deep end, but it's a good thing. The yoga deep end, I guess. I've been trying to get into yoga, Hadley, and I went to one yoga class at WW a year ago.
okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but I'm not flexible, so it was I couldn't do every single move that she was doing, but she was very
Okay, the
patient.
journey. You're not going to be perfect the first time. And there's no such thing as being perfect in yoga. That's what makes it so wonderful.
Now, when you do yoga, are you doing hot? Because I've heard of hot yoga, but then there's also the regular kind. Which version you do?
I mean, if I'm outside and it's hot, then I'm doing hot yoga.
Oh yeah, well, meaning they have like don't they have those rooms where they
But
like
yeah, yeah, they do have like hot yoga, but I've never actually been to a official hot yoga class before. But I've definitely been in environments where it is like I'm doing hot yoga because it's hot up.
yeah natural hot yoga from the sun, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, so you do that, but I guess it kind of going a little bit more into. Do you have like a why? Do you have something that motivates you though in general? Like, let's say you wake up, you do that yoga, but what is it that I guess keeps you going on the path of life?
Mhm. I think like knowing what all my ancestors have done for me to be in the position that I am right now, and thinking about future generations and also the here and now, what I can do now for myself and for others. And I think like the ultimate goal of like Black liberation, interspecies liberation, indigenous sovereignty, like all of these things that I think can be like very big,
Hmm.
but there's little things you can do every day to like help feel like you are part of that bigger movement.
Hmm. No, wow, that's quite a speech right there. I felt like I was in the crowd and you were like giving a speech and like, wow. Do you I like that vision because thinking about the future, us, we're still so young, we're still in our 20s, for us to even be thinking about the next generation when our life is kind of still getting, like, still going, still getting going, I think is a big thing. I think the same thing about, not only people here that I know, but also my country back in East Africa, and being able to help them out. So, I like that. I like that vision. Tell us a little bit what you are studying currently at Western, and then a little bit about your study abroad trip and what that's been.
Yeah, so I'm a Fairhaven student, so Fairhaven College, which is within Western. And their whole thing is they're the interdisciplinary college, and they allow their students to create their own majors. You don't have to technically, but that's like their big thing is that you can go to Fairhaven and make your own major. So that's what I've done, and it's a really long title. It's art, anthrozoology, and ethnoecology, colon, animals and people across cultures, time, and place.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Gotta go deeper
So,
now.
so the short answer is it's all about animals, art, and people, and how those things intertwine, inform each other, help us relay information, how we perceive things through art or yeah. It's very broad and I know that, but that's kind of why I like it so much because I can be doing something that really at surface level doesn't feel like it's linked to those things, but I can find a way.
Yeah.
But I'm currently on the Adventure Learning Grant, they call it, or ALG for short. And they give it out to about 3 or 4 Fairhaven students a year, and it's a $25,000 grant for 10 months of travel. So a whole consecutive like academic year of traveling. And you're not allowed to take any sort of like WW classes or Fairhaven classes while you're on it. It's all supposed to be just like real world life experiences for 10
Hmm.
months.
Hmm.
You get to completely decide what you do at that time, where you go. Yeah, all of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the reason for choosing that major?
Choosing the major, I think in high school, well, we go further back from that. I always wanted to be a vet because I think when you're younger and you like animals, like the job you just automatically think of is veterinarian.
Hmm.
And then as I got older, I was like, I do not have a veterinarian brain. Like people who are vets are so smart. Like I don't think people realize that. They're so smart. And I was like, ooh, I don't have that kind of science brain or like med brain. Like that's not for me. So I started thinking more towards like environmental science route towards the end
Hmm.
of high school. But then even that, once I took AP environmental science, realized it was all math. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Um, and I think that my teacher, my environmental science teacher in high school, I think she was the one who was like, I think you're more interested in ecology, not environmental science. And I think I remember her saying that and me being like, she doesn't know what I like. Like, what does she know? But then I'm like, oh, she was right. Like, I am more interested in ecology than environmental science. But then also knowing I have, like, I just love to create art. I love making art and just animals in general and finding a way to make all of those things come together.
Wow.
Yeah.
I myself have never really grown with animals, and particularly in Eritrea
Mm.
too. We never. I mean, some families have a dog or a cat or whatever. But I particularly didn't grow up like that, and so I think it's interesting. Anyone that is into animals, I want to learn so much from them, because I've always kind of had almost like a fear, kind of like a fear, but also kind of like I don't know if animals, dogs, cats are for me. Um, I guess what would you
I
say
mean,
to someone
yeah.
like me?
Well, honestly, I experience a lot of Black people telling me they don't like dogs. And I really think that's linked to policing. I think there's some generational trauma, something happening there,
Hmm.
which could be worth delving into. But also I feel like if you just don't grow up with animals and they're not part of your like day-to-day life, I can definitely see why that would cause some sort of like, I don't know about this because it's like this is another being with like free will, but I can't
Yeah.
talk to it and it's got a mind of its own and you never know what it's gonna do.
Have you ever had any, I guess, crazy experiences with any animals? Like it could be a dog or a cat, anything that stands out.
Yeah, I think one thing in particular I always think about is when I was younger, sometimes my uncle would ask me and my mom to like bring the horses in from their pastures, like back into their stalls at the end of the day and like give them their dinner. And we were doing that one day, and it was like, pretty routine. We knew pretty much all the horses, but he had this like kind of newer horse there who was young. Like, I don't even think the horse was like 2 or 3, maybe, like still really young for a horse. And he had him out with the oldest horse. And that's like a trick kind of to like get the young horse to like mellow out or like get him in line to like put him with the
Hmm.
older horse who like won't put up with the yes, basically. But he failed to tell us to take the younger one out first because of hierarchy. Yeah, I don't know, like the young one had to leave first, but he didn't tell us that. So I left with the older horse, and my mom was following behind me with the younger horse. And there's like a pretty much like an alleyway of fencing. I don't know how else to describe it that we were like going down. And
Mhm.
like all of a sudden I just heard my mom like scream. I turned around and the younger horse had like reared and she was like trying to hold on to him still. And then he just like took off and came like running down like straight to where I was going. And he was not gonna stop. And the horse that I was leading, his name was Boyer, the older one, he knew this was happening and he like pushed me up against the fence. He used his body and like pushed me up against the
Uh-oh.
fence and like got me out of harm's way pretty as the young horse went like bolting back to the
Oh man.
barn. It was crazy. But he pretty much saved my life. Like I probably would have got trampled or something. Like
Yeah.
yeah, didn't even know what was happening.
Oh my gosh. That young horse sounds like a bull or something like that, Like a matador was holding the freaking red and he was coming at it. Dang. You see you see, Hadley, it's moments like these that make me think, I don't need animals. That could have been you, Ermias. Oh, but
Uh,
thankfully you're good. And that's good that the horse that's awesome though. The horse probably saw you as like one of his own, and protected you. It's like, no, let me keep her safe. Yeah. That's really cool. Wow. Um, I want to talk a little bit back to Bellingham and Western a little bit more. So you kind of said, you were kind of already adjusted to that, lack of diversity. It wasn't something new to you, I guess. Um, did you do much exploring in Bellingham? How did I guess what was your experience like in Bellingham, in downtown area and kind of just the whole vibe that it had?
yeah, so I actually lived in Bellingham for like almost a year before I started classes at Western. And I think that was really nice, honestly, because I think for a lot of people, like from what I've heard, especially from other BIPOC people, like the initial like moving to Bellingham and starting Western is like creates this like mixture of not funness. And I think being able to like kind of swallow one pill at a time to like adjusting to Bellingham and then adjusting to Western and having a
Hmm.
year that I think helped a lot. But I live in the York neighborhood, which is like really close to downtown. I can like walk to downtown, which is really nice. Not really far from campus either. So I feel very like centrally located in Bellingham, which I like, which I feel like Bellingham's kind of like that wherever you are, you end up kind of feeling centrally located.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think York in particular. Um, but yeah, just I spent a lot of time just walking around the first few months that I lived in Bellingham and just walking downtown, or I'd make like a nice little loop like up to the Arb and back down and just getting more familiar with the lay of the land in general. Like like very fond memories of my first few months in Bellingham.
Yeah. Is AP Crepes is probably my favorite breakfast spot in
Mm,
Bellingham. Do you have any favorites for people out here that are trying to go to Bellingham?
my God, I love is it Old Town Cafe, the
Oh,
breakfast brunch
Old Town is
spot.
amazing too.
I
Yeah.
also love Little Cheerful, also breakfast brunch spot. Um, I know I said Bagelry earlier, but I'm gonna say something slightly controversial.
Oh, uh-oh. Let's hear it.
I don't think the Bagelry is really that good. I don't. I
Compared
like
to Seattle or compared to what?
just in general. I don't know. I think it's overhyped. I think it gets the attention it gets because of its location. That location on Railroad is
Mm.
always bumping. So of course there's
Hmm.
gonna be people that want a bagel. But if you just go down the road and up State Street, then you go to that newer bagel spot, um, Other Side Bagels, they have better bagels.
Interesting.
They
I've
have
never
better
been.
bagels.
So I'm gonna have to try it then.
I
Wow.
don't love the vibe of the restaurant. Like I think Bagelry's renting in ambiance but for actual like quality of bagel and taste,
Yeah.
it's other side. It's other side.
Interesting. Okay, okay. You know me, I'm not a big bagel guy, so I kind of just go wherever. Or my mom actually has a place. Is it called Bagel Bros? There's like a spot in Seattle.
I think that's like a chain, yeah. Bagel
Yeah,
Bros.
yeah, yeah. So we get our bagels from there. Delicious, absolutely delicious. Um, put that strawberry spread on it. That's my favorite spread to put on. Toast it first. Toast the bagel, strawberry spread. Whew, it's gonna be a great day with that for me. But um, what's your experience been like in Boozwa a little bit? I mean, first you were in South Africa, so tell us a little
Yes,
bit
so I
about that, and then now in Ghana.
was in South Africa for about 2 months, and I spent 5 weeks at a big cat sanctuary called Lions Rock. And come to find out, it's like one of the biggest big cat sanctuaries, if not the biggest big cat sanctuaries in the whole world. So I didn't know that going there until I got there. They told me that. But they have like something in between like 80 or 90 big cats in their care, which is
Wow.
crazy. And all of them have come from bad living situations, either within South Africa or from all over the world, but mainly Europe. They're part of a bigger organization called Four Paws, which does more of the like coordinating rescues and then
Hmm.
sending those animals to sanctuaries. And they basically just live out the rest of their lives chilling, getting great care, health care, good food. Like a lot of them are like kind of chubby because they're just like living the best life ever. But yeah, I had like 16 lions that were part of my like rotation for each week. And I basically would make them toys every day out of like cardboard or paper bags, like safe materials that if they were to ingest it, it wouldn't really do anything like terrible, but none of them really want to eat it anyway. But just like the fun of like ripping it open, and we'd put like horse poop in it and hay and like spices, and we'd spray it with like an essence. And some of them like really go crazy for it, and some of them would just be like, oh, like you again, like I don't care, I'm not gonna. um but yeah, that was like definitely a dream come true. I've always wanted to be in some sort of like big cat rescue sanctuary environment
Hmm.
because I love them, and I wanted to work in some sort of close proximity to them and not feel bad about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you so are you like actively you're like outside of the cage with the lions or
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
yeah.
ever
We
you don't pet them or
not
anything
allowed
like
to
that?
like interact with them. Yeah, so that's actually something that can like be a, I don't know, deal breaker. I don't know what the word is I'm trying to find, but basically some places will say they're sanctuaries, but they're not. And like one of the biggest things is if they let you actually interact with the animals or not. Because if they're a true sanctuary, like it would be like no touching. Like you can look, no
Hmm.
touching. You're not gonna get your like picture with the lion cub or whatever. And some places will boast that they're a rescue or a sanctuary when really in reality they're like a terrible like backyard breeding facility that is like causing the
Wow.
problem, and you actually need sanctuaries.
Yeah, yeah, seriously. So you were in so is the program a little bit that you're on that you would spend some time in South Africa and then some time in Ghana. Are you doing the same thing that you're doing in South Africa or what's the difference?
Oh, so I'm on a much different wave, quite literally, here in Ghana. Um, so I feel like the first few months of my trip were like very much focused on the animal sides of things, and more particular, like animal tourism and how people interact with animals while also visiting places. Um, but now I think I'm leaning more into like the ethnoecology part of my major. and I am learning how to surf right now. So
Whoa.
I've been like surfing almost like twice a day for a bit now. I've been here since I got to Ghana January 8th. I got here January 9th. Yeah, so I've been surfing, I'm learning how to surf, and I found this surf school called Justice's Brothers, and it's Ghanaian owned, run, which was like very important for me to find something that was like actually like Black African owned and operated.
Mhm.
So I'm learning how to surf from them, and it's been really amazing to just like be in the water and be surrounded by all these Black people who are swimming and surfing and boogie boarding and just like hanging out. And this is just part of their like day-to-day lifestyle to just like be in the water and like part of why I wanted to be here and learn how to surf. Well, I've always wanted to learn how to surf, at least in the last few years. I've really been wanting to learn. But also, there's just, especially in America, but I feel like probably in other parts of the world, Europe, there's this like connotation that like Black people aren't in harmony with the water or know how to swim.
Yep.
So like let
Mhm.
alone why would you think of Black people surfing? But Africa as a whole continent, there's obviously so many countries that have coastline, and so many of those countries have a surf culture within them that has been alive and well, but is just like not documented or uplifted in the way that like surf culture is in California or, Hawaii or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, just like I just want to be in it and I'm in it.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And last time we talked to, we mentioned Steven Scruggs, who I had on the podcast. He talked about that. He had, seen black surfers in the 1300s. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
there was that.
Yeah, Ghana actually is like the country in which the first recording of surfing comes from.
Wow.
And I use the air quotes because it's like, does history really start when a European decides to write it down? No, but it's still noteworthy.
That's true. Absolutely is. Yeah. And I think you're just even talking about something even broader too that I've had other guests on where it's that stigma of black people with dogs, with cats and stuff. And obviously there is some truth to that. Yeah, there is a good amount of us that maybe don't go near the water. Like my family, they especially on my mom's side, they want to stay away from the water for safety reasons, but um because of those things though, it translates to me. So now I got to break that stigma and that fear behind me. But yeah, I guess how do you think we could, from your perspective, continue to break these stigmas in the Black community?
I think a big thing is like don't let the idea of like, oh, Black people don't do that, or that's a white thing, or blah, 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 blah. Like, if you have an inclination to try something and like get good at something, then do it. And if it is a white space, that makes it even more important for you to try and do it. And I think, especially in my own experience. I think like this surf culture also kind of goes hand to hand with me growing up in the horse world and like also not really experiencing people that look like me for many of reasons. But in these last few years, like uncovering this whole culture of like Black equestrians, Black cowboys, especially within America, and how they've always been there. But like many things, when it comes to Black people or BIPOC people, it's just not documented, or people act like it doesn't exist. But you're probably not the only one that wants to do whatever it is you want to do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, even the idea of that's white music. I mean, you've probably experienced that. When I'm with my friends sometimes, they mess around with me saying that, but listen, man, if I like a song, I'm gonna listen to that song, regardless of who made it, regardless of whether, a certain group hears it more. I even have like an international playlist nowadays where it's like Spanish music, French, I may not know what they're saying. Maybe I should, but
Love that.
Mm. How's the culture, I guess like the culture shock? Has it been kind of what you expected, being in South Africa and Ghana?
Yeah, so South Africa honestly reminded me a lot more of the States than I was expecting. And I honestly think it's because of their history of apartheid, which really did not end long ago. Apartheid did not end until the 90s, and that is not very long
Very
ago.
recent. Yeah, 30 years.
So they are definitely still feeling the rippling effects of that. It's definitely there was spaces that I was like, oh, this is like a white space. Like these are white. This is where the white people come to hang out, or the white South Africans, which call themselves Afrikaans, which I think is a little funny, which is also like the language they speak, which is kind of like it sounds like Dutch, but it isn't, but it's definitely influenced by Dutch.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and then here in Ghana, I think is more of like the like Africa experience that I was like looking for or have been craving. Um, and I think I kind of knew what to expect because it's not the first place in West Africa I've visited before, but it is the first place where I've spent like a significant amount of time in and will like continue to be here for a while.
Hmm.
So I think just like taking it all in and like actually having time to take it in because I feel like on the other times I have had the opportunity to travel elsewhere in West Africa, I feel like I've always been like yearning for like more time. So now I have it and just like basking in it has been really nice.
Yeah. What's the timetable looking like for you for how long you're gonna stay there and when you're coming back to Western?
Yeah, so I have to stay on my ALG until like August or like end of July will be
Mhm.
like my 10 months. But I'm here in Ghana till at least June. Well, yeah, definitely till June. But I still haven't decided if I'm gonna stay here in Bourgeois the whole time because come April, I'll be in Accra, which is the capital, and I'll
Mhm.
actually be getting my yoga certification there.
Ooh.
um, and I'm also hoping to learn how to play polo. I have some emails to send. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of thinking about maybe trying to go somewhere else for the month of March, but it's still very much up in the air.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's a cool little spot of season of life you're in right now, where you're traveling, you're basking in that African experience, and you're with the animals, big cats. So, what was that thing? Let's talk about this real quick before we move on. The
Yeah.
thing you posted on your story, the snake, the giant
Oh,
snake.
yeah, that was a rock python. And so towards the end of my trip in South Africa, my mom actually came to visit because of course she wanted to come. I mean, who doesn't want to come to South Africa? And she
Yeah.
finally kind of had an excuse to come. So we ended up doing like Christmas, New Year's time together, and we did like a little bit of like a loop around South Africa, and we ended in like the greater Kruger Park area. And Kruger Park is like I don't know if it's their biggest national park, but it's like their most popular national park. Like usually when people are seeking a safari experience within South Africa, like Kruger's like the number one choice.
Hmm.
We weren't like officially in the park. We were in what they call the greater Kruger Park area. Um, so basically it's like all the wildlife still kind of comes out of like the national park into that surrounding area. So there's other places you can go have like a safari experience at. And that was our last morning there. And our guide spotted it and was like, you can get out of the car. Like it obviously just ate, and we're not gonna like make it mad if we get out of the car to look at it. So I was like, yes, I want to get out of the car. That's where the video,
Uh-uh.
and it had a big old lump in its belly from my guess, maybe like a baby impala or something, but I don't
Oh
know.
man.
But it had
You
just
got
ate.
You got out of the car for that? Wow. What if it just pounced on you though, Hadley? It just needed to look a little bit this way, like,
It
oh.
was not going to. It was not going to. It just ate. It had like the fullest of fullest bellies. It was so satisfied. It could care less about us coming to take a look.
Have you ever seen like a python and like a lion go at it?
No, not with my own two eyes. I'm sure some sort of clip exists on YouTube though.
Now let's say, okay, before we watch that clip or search that up, who in your mind from your experience, who do you think would win that battle?
Definitely probably the lion. If we're talking like full grown lion, like my guesses are if a lion was deciding to mess with the python, like maybe it wants to eat it, but it might just be doing it to like mess it with it.
Just to show who's boss, remind them who's boss.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think even if it was a really big python, I don't think it would be able to take down a lion. Plus, lions are usually with a pride. So even if the python did decide it wanted to start constricting that lion, all the other lions are gonna come and
Start
tear
biting
it
it.
apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely something I'm searching up right after this. So I'm interested. Hadley, let's talk about your dreams and aspirations for life. So we are in
Mhm.
2025 now, almost a month done with 2025. What kind of aspirations you got going on in life and dreams?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely still, well, I haven't even finished my degree yet. So I think I'm still definitely thinking about like officially being done and having my crazy long self-made major diploma. Um, but also I think dreams, aspirations, I definitely want to have some sort of space in the future that is definitely centered around horses and definitely centered around Black people, BIPOC people, and horses, and just having a space where you can be around horses and not having to worry about also it being a white space. Um, so I think that could be something really cool to eventually do really down the line.
Hmm.
Um, but also I just hope other Black girls, little Black girls can see me doing things with animals and be like, oh, I can do that too. Because, yeah, I just don't think, well, for me growing up, I didn't see that many Black people doing sciencey things or animal things. And I think there's definitely starting to be, page turning for that. And I want to be one of those people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I hope that turn happens, you know. I mean, I'll do the best I can in my life, you know. Shoot, I want to be doing yoga. I've done some art projects myself, working on the stick figures and everything, but that's really cool. Well, Hadley, we are at the point of the podcast called The Deep End, where I ask the advice question to people right here. So, amidst you kind of just gave us a little bit of advice, but in general, what advice would you give to that younger generation that's on the come up, including even us, because we're still young, our generation, in general, that are, pursuing whatever field it is. It could be something similar to you, and they're just on their path.
I think just like stay true to yourself. You are your biggest fan. So if you think you can't do something, then obviously you're gonna feel like you can't do it if you're the one telling you yourself you can't do it. But also knowing when to lean into community or friends and family for support when you need it, and remembering like the things that you were excited about or passionate about when you were a kid, because you probably still are passionate about it. Maybe you've just forgotten or repressed it. So finding the things that like really make you happy and just rolling with it.
Yeah, yeah. Great way to close, Hadley. I appreciate you. I hope this has been a joy for you. This has been a joy for me. I learned some things. Yeah, any last minute comments or shout outs, anything that you want to plug, throw out there?
I'll plug my Instagrams. So my personal Instagram is HB Hudson, HUDSON, and the number 8. And then my art Instagram is Hadley's Art 8, HADLEYS art, and the number 8.
There we go. Y'all heard her. Y'all know where to see those Python videos and stuff, you know? Now it's not just gonna be me viewing that.
Yeah.
But I will plug that in the description. Appreciate you, Hadley, for taking the time to do this. It's like it's the evening now for you, right? It's like 8, 9
Yeah.
p.m.
8, yeah.
8 p.m.
Almost.
So I hope everyone enjoyed this awesome episode. As usual, hit that subscribe button, that follow button on Spotify. Make sure to give this a like, share it with someone, and comment your thoughts down below. And until the very next video, y'all, peace. What is up, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning in to that episode. Make sure to click the subscribe, follow button, as well as the bell to get notified on all my new content that is coming out every Wednesday and every other day. And make sure to click that link in the description down below to get access to all my socials and any other platforms that I have my podcast on. And until next time, y'all, peace.